section.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about tree structure. So I really like the structure of this tree. There are a couple things I would change, but I've been pruning and training this tree for a while. So let's kind of come on in and show what we got going on here. Well, first let's start from the outside. So I kind of like an open vase shape for my trees. I want there to be not too easy to go into the center for a couple different reasons. So I can kind of come in here and you can see it's an open center. I can fit my arms in here. Great if I want to come in here and pick fruit. Also keeps the center open so light is able to penetrate through. So here you can come on in here. See how this nice open center. So if I had a bunch of branches in here, first off, hard to reach in here, hard to move anything. Second, we got all these trees, these branches above us. And when those branches foliate, you know, their leaves are growing out, just make it so there's less light coming down in here. So a lot of those are unproductive branches because they're either not photosynthesizing or they're not making fruit, because apple trees, they typically fruit on the tips of their branches. You'll often notice the edges of their branches, you're not finding apples usually coming in right up against the trunk. They're at the edges of the branches on the horizontal branches near the tips. So I like this tree. Another thing to mention here, let's look at this branch right here. So we talked a little bit in our lecture about aspect ratio. If you don't remember, aspect ratio is essentially like the ratio of the diameter of the trunk compared to the diameter of the branch. And so we want an aspect ratio that's making sure that the diameter ratio of our trunk is much larger than the one of our branch. So here, the diameter of this trunk is probably close to double or more than the diameter of this branch. That's good. So that means this is a nice strong attachment. So you want it around maybe 30%, no, not too much more than 50%. A 1 to 2 is pretty good aspect ratio. So this trunk is about twice as large as this branch. That's pretty good. That's a nice strong connection there. Also looking at the angle. So we want to look at the angle of attachment. So oftentimes we'll see things that we don't want too acute of an angle of attachment. So this is a pretty obtuse angle right here. If you see that, if you're thinking about this angle like that, that is greater than 90 degrees. So versus, let's say we had a 25-degree angle of attachment, this branch would be kind of coming close and tight. And eventually that creates if you haven't seen my video on bark inclusions, look at bark inclusions, but essentially when you have two branches that are growing close together, they kind of, with time, they kind of grow more and more up together, and it creates this weak angle of attachment where the branch attaches. Here, on the other hand, we have a really strong angle of attachment. It's a nice obtuse angle. The branch aspect ratio is looking good. This is a great angle of attachment. Last thing I'm going to mention is I like to decide how tall I want my trunk to be. Right now you can see this trunk, the first branch appears right here at about nipple height. And I'm 6 feet tall, so I'm guessing this means it's about 5 feet up. And I like that because this means it's big enough that I could weed under here. I can get a mower under here or a weed whacker. It's nice and clear. Versus if you have branches that are really low to the ground, it makes it really thick. It's hard to get in here. You know, if you have some elderly folks who are coming in, I'm going to get old one day. It's probably going to be hard for me to get in here, so it's nice to have lower branches. So our first branch being higher up. All right, so that's a little bit about tree structure and things I like, showing a really nice aspect ratio as well as a nice angle of attachment.